Using a 19mm socket, remove your right front wheel. I want to go ahead and remove this little button right here. Right up underneath here, there's another plastic button securing the back section. I want to go ahead and do the same in the back. Once that button's out, you can tuck this down and out of the way. Inside the driver's side wheel well, there's a plastic button right here. Let's go ahead and pop that out. Across the front, we're going to go ahead and remove all of our plastic push pins supporting the shield. Ours was damaged and we received it with some components missing already. The ones we do have, let's go ahead and remove those. We're going to use a pick to get underneath a little bit. Go ahead and pry this open. Use a trim tool to go ahead and remove the center and pull the pin. Continue across the front. Now in the lower portion of the radiator, we have our petcock or drain plug right here. I'm going to turn that counterclockwise. Have your catch can underneath. Go ahead and drain your cooling system. Once all your coolant is drained out, go ahead and snug up the drain plug here. We want to go ahead and remove our 10mm bolt right underneath here. This is holding the bracket and our expansion tank for our radiator. Once you remove that bracket, we'll set that aside. At this stage here, if you want, you can open up the expansion tank, and if you have a suction tool, you can go ahead and drain any of the antifreeze or coolant out of your reservoir. And just go ahead and pop off our cap here off of our expansion. Let's go ahead and disconnect the connector on our AC cooling fan. You're going to press on this little gray tab. Just going to use our pliers here. Give us a little bit of assistance in pulling that off. And there we go. Just tuck that aside. We're going to go ahead and remove our 10mm bolt. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to go ahead and remove our lower fan bolts here. All right, down along the side here, there's going to be a little connector that's pressed on to a little metal tab. I'm going to use our pliers here. I'm going to grab that whole connector and just wiggle it up and loose. With that separated, we'll continue to lift up our fan. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, we're going to go ahead and release the center of this plastic lock button. And pop that up. Get underneath the bottom and pull that out. This next one's here, we're going to use a pick. Get underneath the head, pull this up, pull these out as we go across. And our last Phillips head right here. With those buttons removed, grab the cover, gently tug upward, set that aside. We're going to install our lower bolt for our AC condenser fan. Let's go ahead and lower our fan down. We're going to line up the notch on the bottom of our fan with our stud. Then we'll go ahead and get our upper bolts installed. I'm going to go ahead and raise up our fan, get it behind the washer, lower that down. I'm going to thread in that bolt a little bit more just to hold that in place. Before we tighten this, let's go ahead and get our 2 upper bolts installed. Let's go ahead and get our fan lined up. We did put a little bit of anti-seize compound on the bolts. I'm going to go ahead and get these threaded in. And once these are threaded in, we'll go ahead and snug those down. Once these snug down, you don't have to tighten them down any further. Let's go ahead and tighten down these bolts right here. I'm going to use a pair of pliers here. We're going to grab this little gray connector here, and it just sits on a little tab on the side of the fan shroud. So I'm going to grab it with the pliers, just bring it over and press it down and on. So now it's hanging on that little bracket there. Next we want to reach down and grab our connector right here for our fan. Go ahead and bring this over, line that up. Press it in, you'll hear a click. And I'll put our lower pin into the fan assembly, put this notch into this fan. Once that pops in, I'm going to go ahead and take our bracket, line this up. All right, once that bracket is in place, I'll go ahead and get our bolt installed. I'll go ahead and tighten this down. Just going to install our expansion tank hose here. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start to fill our cooling system here. You want to make sure that you have the correct antifreeze recommended for your particular vehicle. And open up our expansion tank. And go ahead and start filling. Now once your radiator is full, I'm going to go ahead and remove these components here. I'm going to reinstall our regular radiator cap. Then we're going to add coolant to our expansion tank. There'll be a low and a full line on this here. You want to go ahead and fill it up to the full line. We're then going to go ahead and start up the vehicle, let it run for about a half hour, 45 minutes. When that thermostat opens up, the engine will consume more coolant. Then we'll go ahead and open this up again and top off our coolant as necessary. And light up our radiator cover here. Install our plastic push pins. There's 3 across the front. Go ahead and fill up our coolant reservoir to that max line up top. I'm going to go ahead and install some of our plastic push pins here. Let's go ahead and install your wheel. Get our lug nuts all started by hand first, and then we'll snug those down. We're going to torque our lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds.